This is awkward for Albanese and just a little embarrassing.
And rightly so.
After a couple of phone calls since Trump's election win last year and waiting 6 months for a meeting, Albanese was invisible and irrelevant.
We will continue to take our position, which is
invisible and irrelevant.
Everyone hates me.
We shouldn't be surprised.
Albanese was looking forward to the crucial meeting with the Commander-in-Chief of our major security partner and was even planning to
Shit himself.
reissue an invitation for the President to visit here down under.
We'll no doubt discuss this tomorrow.
What crap.
And I won't preempt that, but the President of the United States
Hates me.
But the President of the United States would always be a welcome guest in Australia.
It's too little too late.
But now, after the Prime Minister flew halfway around the world, had to join the lesser dinner while the G7 leaders dined, of course, with President Trump. And, of course, with Albanese
Lies and smears.
with Albanese stealing himself for his 20 minutes with the man he calls scary, well, Albo has now been stood up.
And I'm sure that there will be lessons to be learnt.
How many times do we have to teach you this lesson, old man?
Trump has bigger issues and more important priorities just now, and Australia's efforts to escape punitive tariffs and seek reassurance over the AUKUS deal will have to wait. This is awkward for Albanese and just a little embarrassing.
I've had demonstrated, I think, my ability to work with world leaders and to develop relationships with them. But he stepped aside. The truth is,
Just a little embarrassing.
what is there to be proud of?
There was no effort from the US to move the meeting forward or squeeze it in before the President left. And you have to ask yourself,
What does this bloke have to do to lose his job?
why would President Trump go out of his way for the Australian Prime Minister just now?
I would say that there is no one in the Parliament who has closer credentials and more friends than myself on either side of politics.
He's cognitively impaired and physically impaired. There's something wrong with him.
I'll just give you that tip for free.
When I served as Chief of Staff for Foreign Minister Alexander Downer in the Howard government, Australia's voice mattered. We stood up for our values and we tried to work with the US, who shared those values. There's no relationship that's more important for this nation, but Albanese has treated it with disdain.
What we do in Australia is we treat people with respect.
Apart from old abusive comments towards Trump from Albo and many of his ministers, Australia has put itself at odds with the US. The Albanese government has stuck with the doomed Paris net zero agenda, even when the US has called time on it. And when US Defence Secretary Pete Hegseth said Australia should boost its defence spending, Albanese gave him short shrift instead of sensibly engaging on an issue of critical importance to our alliance partners. And most importantly, on the pressing strategic and security issue of the moment, Albanese has failed to back Israel and failed to back the US in its support for Israel. Albanese and his Foreign Minister Penny Wong have
Been working with Hamas.
taken anti-Israel stances at the United Nations. They've slapped sanctions on democratically elected Israeli politicians, and they've even refused to repudiate the disgraceful and illegitimate warrants issued by the International Criminal Court against the Israeli Prime Minister and Defence Minister. So Australia has repeatedly chosen not to align itself with US strategy. And as if that's not bad enough, even over the past few days, as Israel has responded to constant attacks orchestrated by Iran and directly from Iran, and after Iran again refused to abandon its nuclear weapons program, Israel attacked Iran, and Australia has plonked itself firmly on the fence. The US strongly supported Israel and demanded Iran abandon nukes, the right and the strong option. And Australia has just sat on the fence.
Because Australia has no greater friend than the United States of America. So to the President and First Lady, to the history our peoples have made together, but importantly, the future we will build together as a peoples. to friendship.
That's not the diplomacy of a reliable ally. History is unfolding and Australia doesn't know where it stands. Well, many of us do, but our Prime Minister and our government don't. If Australia stood firm publicly with the US and Israel, defending values of democracy, freedom and sovereignty, it would be a critical player on the world stage and highly valued by the US. But Albanese has made Australia invisible and irrelevant, just part of the weak mob of nations that take their diplomatic cues from the EU and the UN. So why would Trump go out of his way to meet Albo? What could he possibly get out of it? Our Prime Minister once had this to say about Donald Trump.
We have an alliance with the US, we've got to deal with him, but that doesn't mean that you're uncritical about it. He scares the out of me.
The truth is that he's in witness protection. And I was very much welcome there.